I'm 76 years old, and I finally understand why my children stopped calling. It didn't come to me all at once. It came slowly, the way most truths do, when you've run out of places to hide from them. I'm not telling this because I expect forgiveness. I'm telling it because there isn't much time left to pretend I don't know. The house is quiet now, in a way I never imagined when I was younger. Not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of your own breathing and of how loud memories can be when there's nothing else competing with them. Most mornings I sit at the small kitchen table by myself. Same chair, same chipped mug, same window that looks out onto a street I barely recognize anymore. I wait longer than I should for the phone to ring. I tell myself I'm not waiting. But I am. I always am. For a long time, I blamed distance. Then I blamed their jobs. Then their families. Then technology. I told myself, people don't talk on the phone anymore. I said it out loud. Even laughed about it with neighbors. But late at night, when the television is off and the lights are dim, those explanations don't hold up very well. Because other people my age get calls. I see them answer their phones with that quick practice smile. I hear them complain about how often their kids check in. I nod along, pretending I'm part of the same world. I wasn't always alone like this. There were years when the house was loud and messy and exhausting. Toys underfoot, doors slamming, voices calling from different rooms. I remember coming home from work and wishing for quiet. I remember thinking, just 10 minutes of silence would be a gift. It turns out you have to be careful what you wish for. When I was younger, I thought being a good parent meant providing. That was the word I lived by. Provide. Pay the bills. Keep the lights on. Put food on the table. Everything else felt secondary. Optional, even. I worked long hours. Not because anyone forced me to, but because it felt necessary. Because people depended on me. Because being needed made me feel solid in the world. I wasn't chasing luxury. I was chasing stability. At least, that's what I told myself. I'd come home tired. Not just physically tired, but emptied out. The kind of tired where listening feels like another task instead of a privilege. My kids would start telling me about their day, about something that happened at school, about a friend, about a feeling they didn't have words for yet. And I'd half listen, or I'd say, "We'll talk later," or "Not now," or "Can this wait?" Most things can wait until they can't. I remember sitting at the table while they did homework, papers spread out, pencils tapping. I'd be reading mail or thinking about work the next day. They'd ask for help, and I'd sigh before answering. I didn't mean to make them feel like a burden. I just didn't notice what that sigh sounded like to a child. I thought there would be time later, when work slowed down, when things were more settled, when they were older and could really talk. I assumed relationships worked like bank accounts. You put in the basics early, and the interest takes care of the rest. That's not how it works. But I didn't know that then. I missed things. Not the big milestones everyone talks about. I was there for birthdays, graduations, photos. I showed up when it mattered publicly. What I missed were the smaller moments, the unplanned ones, the quiet car rides, the late night questions, the times when being present didn't come with a calendar reminder. There was a night when my oldest came home upset about something. I don't even remember what it was now. I remember glancing at the clock and thinking about how early I had to wake up. I remember saying something like, "You'll understand when you're older." I remember seeing their face close off a little. Just a little. Not dramatically. just enough that I should have noticed. I didn't. That's the part that's hardest to sit with now. Not that I was cruel. I wasn't. I never yelled much. I never hit. I never abandoned them physically. But I was distant in ways that are harder to explain and easier to excuse. Distance that hides behind responsibility looks respectable. Distance that hides behind exhaustion gets sympathy. Distance that hides behind good intentions rarely gets questioned. Years passed. They grew up. I was proud of them. I said it often, but maybe not directly to them, more to other people. I talked about their achievements, like they were proof that I had done something right. When they moved out, I told myself it was natural for contact to change. They were building their own lives. That's what you're supposed to want as a parent. Independence. I repeated that word like a shield. Calls became less frequent, texts shorter, visits more scheduled, less spontaneous. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to seem needy. I didn't want to interfere. I told myself they'd call if something was wrong. Sometimes they did. When they needed advice, or help, or money. I was good in those moments. Clear, practical, reliable. I felt useful again. But when the crisis passed, so did the contact. I didn't know how to be anything other than useful. Then came the turning point. Not a dramatic argument. Not a single event I can point to and say, that's where it all broke. It was quieter than that. It always is. I got sick for a while. Nothing fatal, but serious enough to make me aware of my own fragility. Hospital rooms have a way of stripping things down. There's a lot of time to think when machines are doing the work your body used to do, without complaint. My children visited. They were kind, polite, concerned. They brought things, asked questions, stayed for appropriate amounts of time. It all looked right from the outside, but something was missing. An ease, a closeness, the sense that they needed me there as much as I needed them. I realized I was more a responsibility than a refuge. After I recovered, life went back to normal, or what passes for normal at this age. The calls didn't increase. If anything, they became more spaced out. Holidays felt formal, like obligations being fulfilled rather than moments being shared. That's when it finally started to settle in. Not as a sharp pain, but as a dull, persistent ache. Like something that had been broken for a long time, healing wrong. I started replaying things in my head. Conversations, evenings, decisions that felt small at the time. Each one harmless on its own. Together they formed a pattern. A message I hadn't meant to send, but sent anyway. You are not my first priority. You can wait. Your inner world is less important than my outer responsibilities. Children believe what you show them, not what you say. By the time I understood that, it was too late to rewrite the story. You can apologize, but you can't relive. You can acknowledge, but you can't undo. I've tried reaching out more. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it feels like I'm knocking on a door that used to be mine, now owned by someone else. They answer, but they don't invite me all the way in. I don't blame them. That's another truth that took time to arrive. They adapted to the version of me I gave them. They learned how close was safe, how much to share, how much to expect. What's gone is the assumption of closeness. That default connection you think will always be there because it once was. People talk about regret like it's dramatic, like it announces itself. For me, it's quieter. It's the empty chair across from me. It's the way I hesitate before calling, not wanting to interrupt. It's the realization that being needed is not the same as being known. If you're listening to this and you're younger. I don't have instructions for you. I'm not qualified to tell anyone how to live. I can only tell you what I didn't understand until my voice started sounding old, even to my own ears. Time doesn't move evenly. It feels abundant when you're busy and scarce when you're still. Presence isn't something you can make up for later. Children don't remember the reasons you were absent. They remember the absence. I thought love was something steady that didn't need constant attention. I thought showing up eventually was enough. I was wrong. Now, I do what I can with what's left. I listen more than I talk. I don't rush conversations. I try not to fill silence with advice. I don't know if it changes anything. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Some things heal. Some things simply settle into a new shape. I'm not angry anymore. Mostly I'm grateful. Grateful I was given enough years to see this clearly. Grateful for the moments I did get right. Grateful for the calls that still come, even if they're fewer than I once imagined. If this meant something to you, maybe sit with it for a while. Not to fix anything, just to notice. As for me, I'll be here tomorrow morning, at the same table, with the same mug, watching the light change through the window. If the phone rings, I'll answer. If it doesn't, I'll still be here, holding the truth a little more gently than I used to. That's all I have left to do. Some truths arrived late. If you're still listening, there's another story waiting.